Funny, touching, and incredibly meta. Dan Harmon's might not be the first show that comes to mind when viewers think Halloween specials, and yet had some of the best Halloween episodes out there. Focused on Jeff Winger, ex-lawyer turned community college student. The show often brought up some terrifyingly funny concepts, like the darkest timeline found. Um, it also frequently featured costumes, mostly from the Dean, and was just generally a sweet treat to watch. Plus, Abed Nadir's knowledge of movie genres often lent to great horror parodies and homages. When you consider all of the above, maybe it's not so strange that Halloween specials were frighteningly good. Uh, sure, they usually left viewers laughing instead of screaming, but they also delivered some unexpectedly poignant moments and memorable quotes while embracing the creativity and fantasy of spooky season. Well, we recommend watching all of the episodes on this list. We've gone ahead and ranked them based on how well they merge the spirit of with the spirit or the spirits of the holiday. Paranormal Parentage, which is season 4, episode 2, known as the gas leak year. Season 4 had some of the strangest episodes of the entire series. However, it also had some highs, such as Paranormal Parentage. In this Halloween episode, the study group, minus Pierce, is getting ready for a party when Pierce called asking for help, claiming that he had seen his father's ghost. Pierce locked himself in his panic room and needed the group to find the code to get him out. But during their search, Jeff's own relationship with his father would prove to be just as complicated and central to the story as Pierce's own. Heartwarming and hilarious, and very, really difficult. Sorry, agreeing along mind. From small moments such as Annie misunderstanding what her Rain Girl costume should look like to Abed, reflecting, I remember when this show was about community college. This episode was hilarious. The moments involving Pierce being watched while sleeping were also genuinely creepy. And add to that the references to and a guest appearance by Pierce's half-brother Gilbert, played by Giancarlo Esposito. And it almost hurts us the last place, and finding that different problem is that but while there isn't anything wrong with Paranormal Parentage, the other episodes on this list just happen to be even better. Horror fiction in 7 Spooky Steps, and after Britta, Gillian Jacobs gave the group anonymous personality tests. She was horrified to learn that one of them was a psychopath. Trying to figure out who, she told a scary story and tried to gauge the group's reactions, but they were mostly just unimpressed with her storytelling. So they began to tell their own scary tales featuring vampires, bizarre science experiments, and even the rapture. In the end, it was revealed that probably had scored the tests wrong, but the group's true results were even scarier. So they didn't Britta. It was with horror fiction in 7 Spooky Steps. Was notable for featuring Beetlejuice, aka Beetlejuice,
thus finalizing a background gag that had been building up over several episodes. It also had some pretty funny moments, especially during Shirley's story and Britta's reaction to the repeated use of Britta. However, other stories such as Abed's and Annie's were a little one note, and that's not to say that they were bad, only that the jokes could have been even more effective. Still, horror fiction in Seven Spooky Steps ranks above paranormal parentage for its creativity and willingness to go there. Is that it's season 1, episode 7 of N. Annie's Dia de los Muertos themed Halloween party needed one thing to be a success: Jeff's attendance. Already reluctant to attend, he eventually left the event with Senor Chang after learning that his statistics instructor, Professor Slater, was at a faculty party. But his efforts to woo her would be undermined by a drugged up Pierce, a mournful Shirley, and a secretly jealous Britta, all culminating in Jeff turning down a chance to hook up with his teacher so that he could be there when his friends needed him instead. Then, and acing Halloween episodes. This is one of those episodes where everything just came together perfectly. From the reveal about Shirley's ex-husband to Jeff, finally doing the right thing. It felt as if the show had really found its footing. And in that sense, it's not just a great Halloween episode, but one of the most pivotal of the first season. Was like with the other specials on this list, Introduction to Statistics wasn't particularly scary, but it did a lot in terms of character growth and relationship building, which made it quite the treat to watch. The way that I think is it ranks above the other two for showing the group's positive influence on Jeff, and for firmly establishing the community feel of. If you have more of a month, so I would talk to you, and because of that, in the next week, season 2, episode 6. An homage to zombie movies. Epidemiology quickly took a turn for the spooky when Dean Pelton, Jim Rash, fed the students a contaminated meat-like substance. Pierce and several other students soon grew ill, and the dean was told by an Army Special Operations officer that he had to quarantine them until special forces arrived. Unfortunately, this put all the other students at risk of being bitten. Worse, if they couldn't cool down the school, the infected students were facing potential brain damage, or even death. So the study group sprang into action to try to save the school, which predictably led to most of them being turned into zombies, as Abed urged Troy today. Make me proud. Make me proud. Be the first Black man to make it to the end. In addition, it's not changed, but there's some. This was one of the zanier episodes of the series, as it essentially established zombies and mind erasing as parts of the universe. Although the show was often self-aware, it rarely veered off into themes or events that were uh, supernatural, and yet this episode managed to make the supernatural feel normal while simultaneously growing Troy and Abed's friendship, introducing a shocking dynamic in Shirley and Chong relationship, and more generally playing with horror tropes in unique, unexpected ways. And then how can we go into the second songs in Field Apartment? Plus, who for now, epidemiology leads our list as it combines an actually scary premise with the warmth and hilarious antics that make so good. It's a great watch, not just during Halloween, but all year round. Plus, it's the type of funny scary that's easy to enjoy, unlike some of the just plain frightening updates that have recently come out about the movie. Uh, hey, everyone, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Ever wondered which Halloween episodes truly deliver beyond the usual frights and costumes? Um, I think that let's dive into the spooky, hilarious, and wonderfully meta world of um it's a show that often gets overlooked when talking about Halloween classics. And Dan Harmon's creation, frequently tossed in, brilliantly terrifying, yet funny concepts like the darkest timeline. And with the Dean's elaborate costumes and Abed's knack for movie genre parodies, it became a sweet treat to watch. Uh, Considering all of that, uh, maybe it's not so surprising that Halloween specials were a frighteningly good time. Um, we've ranked these episodes based on how well they blend the show's spirit with the spooky season. Let's get started. First up in fourth place is Paranormal Parentage from season 4. That season was a little unusual, but this episode had some really great moments. And the study group, minus Pierce, helped him investigate his father's ghost. It was a kind of adventure. Jeff's relationship with his father became just as important to the story. There were funny bits like Annie's ring girl misunderstanding, and even creepy moments such as Pierce being watched while sleeping. The episode included nods to and a guest appearance by Pierce's half-brother, Gilbert. While fun, it just doesn't quite reach the heights of the other episodes. So Derek Master. Next at number 3, we have horror fiction in 7 Spooky Steps from season 3. Britta, after some personality tests, tries to scare the group with a spooky story. The group responds by telling their own scary tales, complete with vampires and bizarre experiments. It's revealed Britta misread the tests, but the group's actual results are even more unsettling. This episode cemented the running gag about Beetlejuice. It featured some memorable moments, particularly Shirley's story. Some stories could have been sharper, but it's still a creative and fun episode. Taking the second spot is Introduction to Statistics from Season 1. Annie's Dia de los Muertos party needed one thing: Jeff's attendance. Things get complicated with a drugged up Pierce and a jealous Britta. Jeff ultimately chooses to be there for his friends, turning down a chance with his teacher. This episode was pivotal in showing the group's positive influence on Jeff and establishing the show's heart. It's a great Halloween episode and a cornerstone of the first season. And finally, at number 1, we have Epidemiology from Season 2. It's an absolute classic. The dean's contaminated meat leads to a full-blown zombie outbreak. It's quickly turned spooky. The group must save the school, risking becoming zombies themselves. This episode boldly introduced supernatural elements and showcased the growth of Troy and Abed's friendship. There was also an amazing Ava soundtrack and George Takei's narration, and it's a perfect blend of scary and hilarious, making it a standout episode, and a reminder that sometimes the best scares come with a side of laughter. Why did the zombie cross the road? To get to the other brain. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time. And hey, everyone, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Ever wondered which Halloween episodes truly deliver beyond the usual frights and costumes? Let's dive into the spooky, hilarious, and wonderfully meta world of it's a show that often gets overlooked when talking about Halloween classics. Dan Harmon's creation frequently tossed in brilliantly terrifying yet funny concepts like the darkest timeline. And with the dean's elaborate costumes and Abed's knack for movie genre parodies, it became a sweet treat to watch. Considering all of that, maybe it's not so surprising that Halloween specials were a frighteningly good time. We've ranked these episodes based on how well they blend the show's spirit with the spooky season. Let's get started. First off, in 4th place is Paranormal Parentage from Season 4. That season was a little unusual, but this episode had some really great moments. The study group, minus Pierce, helped him investigate his father's ghost. It was a kind of adventure. Jeff's relationship with his father became just as important to the story. There were funny bits like Annie's ring girl misunderstanding, and even creepy moments such as Pierce being watched while sleeping. The episode included nods to and a guest appearance by Pierce's half-brother Gilbert. While fun, it just doesn't quite reach the heights of the other episodes. And next at number 3, we have Horror Fiction and 7 Spooky Steps from Season 3. Britta, after some personality tests, tries to scare the group with a spooky story. The group responds by telling their own scary tales, complete with vampires and bizarre experiments. It's revealed Britta misread the tests, but the group's actual results are even more unsettling. This episode cemented the running gag about Beetlejuice. It featured some memorable moments, particularly Shirley's story. Some stories could have been sharper, but it's still a creative and fun episode. Taking the second spot is Introduction to Statistics from season 1. Annie's Dia de los Marcos party needed one thing. Jeff's attendance, you know, things get complicated with a drugged up Pierce and a jealous Britta. Jeff ultimately chooses to be there for his friends, turning down a chance with his teacher. This episode was pivotal in showing the group's positive influence on Jeff and establishing the show's heart. It's a great Halloween episode and a cornerstone of the first season. And finally, at number 1, we have Epidemiology from season 2. It's an absolute classic. And so the dean's contaminated meat leads to a full-blown zombie outbreak. It's quickly turned spooky. And the group must save the school, risking becoming zombies themselves. This episode boldly introduced supernatural elements and showcased the growth of Troy and Abed's friendship. There was also an amazing ABBA soundtrack and George Takei's narration. It's a perfect blend of scary and hilarious, making it a standout episode and a reminder that sometimes the best scares come with a side of laughter. Why did the zombie cross the road? And to get to the other brain, with that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, hit high.